Grab you a milkshake and a hamburger. We're talking Riverdale. This is a review for Riverdale, Chapter 29, Primary Colors. So I thought tonight's episode was pretty damn good. I really did enjoy it. They had quite a few storylines, but they melded them all together, and it just provided us with a decent episode. Not perfect by any means. There was one storyline that kind of irked me because, honestly, how are you going to have Reggie be an important part of a storyline, but have him do nothing? Oh my God, I had a shit fit over that. That's Veronica's storyline. We will get to that last so I can express my outrage on that. So let's just get through some of the other storylines. Okay, so Betty. Last episode we left off with her confronting Chuck that he did not pass the DNA test. He wasn't who he said he was. And we find out that he doesn't have Blossom blood. And, shocker, he's not Hal's son. Yeah, that was a revelation that shocked no one. Most people picked up on this just because of how hostile Hal was towards Chick. So it's no surprise that Hal is not the father. This was confirmed by Alice. But what does that mean for Chick? Well, for one, Betty really can't seem to stand Chick anymore. And that was kind of the theme of her storyline, kind of bouncing back between her and Chick. First she confronts Chick with this information. We find out that he's not Hal's son. Shocker. And then later, Chick looks up Kevin. He brings Kevin over and they start talking. And this makes Betty mad because she thinks Kevin's betrayed her. And Chick's like, hey, you're going to try and catfish me. You're trying to trick me. Who do you think you're trying to fool here? So then later, Betty sneaks into his bedroom, wakes him up with a lighter to his face saying, you want to fuck with me? Look at everyone else who's trying to fuck around with. Clifford Blossom, the Sugar Man, the Black Hood. They're all dead, motherfucker. You don't want to fuck with me. But then Chick turns this around and finds her dominatrix gear, at least her wig, and gives it to Alice, and Alice is like, Betty, what's going on? What? And, Chick's like, I bet he slept with Jughead. I bet she's been sleeping with him. Which pisses off Alice. Alice is like, oh, God. So everyone right away is thinking, oh, I guess Chick is FP's son. Now, Alice does confirm later that she had a thing with FP, but she says no way is Chick FP's son. Yeah, so I did like all of the Chick and versus Betty stuff, and it kind of gives you the mystery. Well, whose son is Chick supposed to be? Is Alice telling the truth for one thing? We know it's not Hal's son. So, and we also know it cannot be Clifford Blossom or his brother Claudius's son because he has no Blossom blood whatsoever. And Alice is telling us it's not FP. So who does that leave? Probably wouldn't be Hiram Lodge, but maybe Hiram Lodge. But Fred Andrews, because Chick's kind of blonde, he's kind of white. Like I said, I don't think it's Pop Tate's or Principal Willoughby's son, Coach Clayton, and none of those guys. But I could see it being Hiram. I could see it being maybe Fred. Does it really even matter? Because, like I said, I'm still not convinced that that this is the real Chick. I'm still thinking that maybe that guy that Chick killed, that was the real Chick. And until we find out who that guy who got killed by Chick was, who they buried and threw away and did all that stuff, I'm not convinced that theory is dead. Okay, so that was Betty. Archie, he didn't have a lot going on. He's just being Hiram's little, I'm trying to think of the word here. Busboy. Here is the delivery boy. One of his goons just basically working for Hiram. Jughead's acting out, going on a hunger strike, and then he chains himself to, him and the Serpents chain themselves to the Southside High. Hiram's trying to get Archie to convince his friend not to do this sort of shit. And then eventually, when Jughead and his buddies are out protesting at Southside High because they're going to demolish it to build that prison, and Jughead, he's chained out in front of it. Archie shows up with a pair of bolt cutters, cuts the chains, and it's like, okay, now Jughead really doesn't like Archie. So that would be cool, the two of them going up against it. But aside from that, he didn't do a lot. Except, I gotta say this, they brought back Molly Ringwald, his mom, in this episode. She was a delight to have in, because there's this dinner scene, with Archie, and he's bitching and moaning. He's like, why is everyone jumping on my ass for, hanging out with Hiram? I mean, he's trying to make something of this place. He's trying to do something, and then his mom just lets him have it. She says, you ungrateful little snot. Paraphrasing here. Where she's like, your father, he busted rocks to help his family when his father was sick. And he built a business out of nothing, which pays for this house, which pays for this food that you're eating, with the clothes you're wearing. So you just shut your mouth, mister. And I was like, yes, preach, sister. Oh, Archie. It's fine. It's fine. It's just great to see someone just put him in his fucking place. That's just one of the weaker stories, is him being seduced by Hiram. And it's like, oh, God. Yeah. That just kind of goes on. It's like last season with his music. The first few episodes where that was an important thing, and I was just like, wow. And this storyline with Hiram is like, wow. It's not like he's really, like, he's doing it because he's in love with Veronica. We don't get that much with them that justifies the fact that he would work for Hiram. Okay, like I said, that was him this week. And like I said, Jughead, his storyline is he's protesting, so he's doing a hunger strike and chaining himself to walls. And we do have a pretty good scene with him and his father. And his father's asking him, like, why are you doing all this? It's like, most of us on the South Side really don't give a shit. And he goes, yeah, but I mean, you're gonna say that after all this is getting torn down, and our only option is to work for these people? It just isn't right, Dad. And I thought that was a very decent scene. Okay, Cheryl. Pretty simple with her. She thinks that her mother and her uncle are out to get her and her Nana. So she invites all her friends over for a slumber party. And at the slumber party, they hear this loud bang. Turns out Grandma Nana has taken a fall down the stairs. And her, her mother and her uncle are trying to blame it on Alzheimer's. So when Grandma Nana is in the hospital, Cheryl starts doing some snooping, finds out that, her grandma was on some sort of, had some kind of drugs in her system, which she wasn't prescribed for. I think they said came from some kind of root that grows in their garden. And the mother's like, oh, she was chewing on it because she's got Alzheimer's. And, Cheryl's like, no, she put it in her tea. She's figuring this out. She confronts her mother with this as they're driving around. And her mother's like, oh, you poor thing, you've gone insane. Basically, Cheryl ends up in the mental institution at the end of the film. And not just any mental institution, that goddamn convent with those creepy-ass fucking nuns. So, yeah, Cheryl is in the shit. And that's pretty deep. Like I said, that story, I liked that. And I liked kind of where they went with some of the other stuff, except for Archie. But let's just get into the main one, why they call it Primary Colors, which is, it was based on, the title is based on a political novel, set in the 90s. It's supposed to be about Bill Clinton, even though the character isn't called Bill Clinton. Anyway, like I said, I thought this was going to be about Fred running against Hermione for mayor. Because it's called Primary Colors, and they already established that Hermione was going to run for mayor. And I was under the impression in the last episode that they also established that Fred was running. Apparently he was still on the fence, because at the end of this episode he says, you know what, I'm going to run for mayor. I'm like, I thought he was already running. But no, It's about a completely other election, a completely different election. That is the student body or student council body president. Apparently, they're having an election in what, in if you follow their timeline, this should be either February or March with them, and they're going to have a school election for student body council president. And one of the people running is Reggie, my man Reggie. I'm thinking he's going to get in the story because we have this big poster that says, vote for Reggie for president. But then he says a few things he shouldn't have said to Veronica, who's already pissed off because, what's her name? Ethel Muggs had thrown a milkshake in her face because now all of a sudden Ethel Muggs hates Veronica. So, he makes some comment about, oh, you got some dairy in your face. I got some nuts for that shake. All right, first off, who the hell puts nuts in a shake? Like a sundae, yes. But a milkshake, no. Anyway, like I said, he makes that comment, and then he starts talking about how her dad's going to prison. They do this, they start playing this crazy music, and you see Veronica's getting pissed, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just slugs Reggie in the face, which I'm okay with, even though he's my man, because I'm thinking, he's involved in the story. Now there's going to be some kind of friction between the two of them. No! And here's the thing. Veronica all decides that she's going to run against Reggie, my man. My man Reggie. I'm thinking, holy shit, Reggie's going to get into a story now. It's going to be him and Veronica running for student body council president. Even though it makes no goddamn sense that they would be having these elections in February, March, April. I don't know where they are in the timeline, but they're not fucking at the beginning of the school year when it would make more sense. Plus, they're kind of doubling down on the story again. It's sort of like, how I said in the episode where Archie witnesses Andre kill that one guy. So he knows that Andre killed a guy, and maybe he thinks Hiram even killed Papa Papal Tolini. At the same time, you've got Betty covering up another murder, right? Now we've got two different election storylines running, where we have Hermione versus Fred for mayor of Riverdale, and Veronica versus Reggie for student body council president. Anyway, like I said, that's two of the same storylines. Two storylines that are exactly the same, running at the same time. Anyway, like I'm saying, well, I was okay with it because it's Reggie in a storyline. But that's not the case, because all throughout this episode, we see what Veronica's doing to get herself elected. She sets up this cupcake and kiss booth where, if you buy one of her cupcakes, she gives you a kiss, and it's supposed to be, her pitching to the male constituents of Riverdale. Which I thought was funny because when she says she's going to run against that misogynist Reggie, but she does one of the, something that would just appeal to sexists. It's kind of degrading for a female where they run a kiss booth, but she's running against the misogynist. Anyway, I'm thinking, okay, now Reggie's going to do something later because he's standing there kind of mad at Veronica. She's getting all this attention with this kiss and cupcake booth. But no, he doesn't do anything. And later we see Veronica. She's getting this endorsement from Josie, a celebrity endorsement. And it just makes it look like it's easier and easier for Veronica to win, and we see nothing from Reggie's side. Reggie hasn't planned something. He's like, I know Watts will run a negative campaign ad against her or do this. It's slower. He just kind of stands to the sidelines for no reason at all. And eventually, Veronica gets her comeuppance when, Ethel starts handing out these papers saying about all the lies that Veronica's been telling. And, she got that information from Josie. So, Ethel and Josie are actually against Veronica, and they're plotting together, which is cool to see those two secondary characters get involved in the storyline. But still, it's like, it's Reggie versus Veronica in the election, and we got nothing from Reggie on this. I mean, what the fuck, man? Oh, I can't stand what they're doing with the Reggie character. Give him a fucking timeline, man. I mean, give him a fucking story. And here, it seems like he's in a story, but he's not. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where that will go. Maybe in the next episode, we'll see more of Reggie run for president. And he could be like a Donald Trump type character who wants to build a wall between the North and the South side. And who knows what. Like I said, give Reggie a storyline. I've come up with a new one, too. Time travel. So check it. One very interesting note that came up in this episode was the idea that one time the Southside Serpents protected Southside High School from the riots, right? Like there was some kind of riots in Riverdale, and the Southside Serpents protected their own high school and whatnot. Oh, and we've heard about these riots before from Pop Tate, who talked about how his chocolate shop, some of the windows got knocked out in these riots. Never been specified what the hell these riots were about. So I'm thinking, at some point, Reggie goes back in time and, gets involved in these riots. Like, maybe he accidentally prevents it when it was supposed to happen. Some Back to the Future shit. Then we learn more about what these riots were about. I'm guessing race-related riots, maybe? Like, some sort of... like maybe at one time Riverdale was segregated, which if you follow what little they told you about the history would make sense. Then it's up to, this Asian guy to come in and kick some ass, set Riverdale straight on the right path. I don't know. Like I said, just give Reggie a fucking story. Aside from that, I did enjoy tonight's episode. It had a lot of good stuff going for it, and I'm looking forward to the next week. And that's all I got.